Thanks very much, Jackie. Now, if you're a parent, do you worry about how much quality time you spend with your children? Well, if you do, you're probably not alone, because new research is suggesting that the pressures of modern life are impacting on important family time. I'm joined now by the career coach and working mum, Jenny Garrett, and the family psychologist, Dr. Sam Bass. Good morning to you both. Thank you very much for taking important time away from children to go and speak to us here today. It's quite staggering, this. I was just looking at some of the statistics. I'm just trying to find where it was. 48% of parents are saying that they are struggling with spending quality time with their children. Jenny, what do we mean by quality time? Because a lot of parents may also think, I'm spending time with my children, but they might be on their iPad or watching the TV.
Absolutely. I think quality time is when you're listening, is when you're really seeking to understand, is when you actually are guided by your children about what's important. And I think the difference between quality time and other time is that there's space for things to emerge, rather than we're planning something or we're doing something. Actually, there's space for whatever comes through that conversation.
Sam, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I was with some of my friends who are parents to young children, and conversation was dominated by having to rush from work to do the nursery run. When you get home, you've only got a couple of hours to get them dinner, bath, to bed, husband. They just said it's a constant juggle and a constant race against the clock. And they find it difficult to have that quality time, whether it be something as simple as reading a story, for example.
Yeah, so it's very easy, you know, we all do it, you know, with parents. You find that the vast majority of things that you say are kind of what we call imperatives, you know, get up, get dressed, do this, do that.
Of parenting.
Particularly with young kids, you know, don't do that, you know, telling them what to do. The thing is, you know, if we just have those kinds of conversations with children, the children are losing out on a huge amount of learning opportunities. You know, we tend to think that most learning happens in school, but in fact children do the vast majority of their learning, particularly their early learning, at home. And they learn by doing, so they learn by talking. You know, so when you've got a young child who's wanting to chatter away to you, in fact, they're learning, you know, they're practicing their own language skills, and they're learning some really, really key skills there.
Yes, making time for something as simple as a conversation. It's interesting, isn't it, Jenny, because a lot of there's a lot of talk now about flexible working, companies being better to employees who have children to be able to accommodate some family life. It's not really working in practice for the majority of parents at the moment. So how can they combat that? How can they build in a bit of time?
I think this is a really important question, and I think there's definitely something about how can we do this on a regular basis, find the quality time we need. One of my clients recently was promoted, and she had to move from part-time to full-time to be promoted. But she negotiated 1 day a week when she'd take her son to school and collect him. And she found that to be really a valuable kind of trade-off. But I think things you can do with your children are things like actually you let them dictate what you do at the weekend. You know, a Saturday when you say your choice, or Daddy's choice another day and my choice another Saturday, so that you negotiate something like that. Actually, something as simple as maybe getting some help in, you know, if you can afford that, getting, you know, someone in to do some of your household chores that are when you're not doing quality time, so you can give some quality time to your children. Things like running, engaging in running and exercise together, you know, all of these things are things that you can do.
I'm just playing devil's advocate for the parents who are sitting at home watching. Actually, they're definitely not sitting, they're rushing around at this time of the day, so apologies for that. Absolutely. But playing devil's advocate, Sam, they will be thinking, how can I build in time during the week? Because at the weekends, OK, fine, you can do what Jenny suggested, but during the week, is it about making the most of the time you actually have? Because when you think about it, you probably do have time. You mentioned the school run, having a chat in the car on the way to school rather than listening to the radio, or, you know, having a row with your other half on the phone about something that's been forgotten. It's about the fact that you do have the time, and it's making use of that.
There is actually some really interesting research suggesting that, you know, children, you know, particularly when it's a tricky problem, they often find it easiest to chat about it in the car. Kind of the direct face-to-face contact can be quite stressful, quite overwhelming, but something about, you know, you're both staring forward, going out the window means that it's easier to talk about those things. So yeah, so that's a really interesting thing. I mean, of course, though, the tricky thing is kind of energy levels, you know. So having a long, extended conversation with a young child, you know, because their sphere of reference is so small, can be quite exhausting for an adult. So, you know, it's just about having the mental energy to keep it going at their level.
OK, Dr. Sam Bass and Jenny Garrett, thank you very much for coming in to talk to us about that. Very interesting indeed. We've got the weather now with Isabel, and she makes time for her children. You go out running with your kids, don't you, Isabel?
Yeah, they're getting faster than me, so they run and have a cup of tea while they wait for me. Oh yeah, that's great. Anyway, let's take a look at the weather for today, whatever you're doing.